Where were you born in Oklahoma?
I was born at Leedy.
Leedy, okay.
Leedy is north of Elk City about, I guess, 60 or 70 miles. Is that right, Lynn?
No, I don't know, something maybe like that.
I know you go up to Hammond, which is 20 or 30 miles, and then you go on another 15 or 20 miles on up to Leedy.
Were you born in a hospital or were you born at home?
Born at home. They didn't know what a hospital was.
That's different. Can you imagine, your grandkids can't imagine a person being born in home. Yeah, that is. Now, before you went to school, what do you remember? Do you remember anything? Like, what was your life like?
Oh, well, my mother worked.
Did she work full time, or what does that mean?
When I moved to Elk City, I remember playing in the wagon yard and climbing trees. I stayed outdoors most of the time because I didn't like to stay in the house by myself. And so I stayed out and played on the barn and built me playhouses outdoors.
Well, when your mom went to work, was there anyone at home with you?
No,
Oh, so you're just by yourself.
I was by myself.
And how long, like for 8 hours, or how long?
I guess about out. Of course, I was in school a lot of that.
Oh, yes.
Except in summertime.
Yeah, in summertime you're on your own. Did you have neighbor kids that come over to play?
Not much.
You're probably out in the country?
No, we lived in town.
Oh,
But one house was a rent house on one side of it. I mean, they lived on the lady owned the house that lived on one side of me. And she had a daughter and 2 sons. She had a son, a daughter, and a son. And when she was about 15, she had appendicitis and died. And I know I walked with her up and down the street just after she'd had her surgery, but before the surgery backfired on her. And so she just barely could walk, and I walked with her, and we walked back to the house, and then a few days later she was real bad sick.
that's sad. How did you react to that?
Oh, I hated it terribly that she died.
I bet.
And then her younger brother, he married, had 2 children, and he got sick and died. And so, but before he died, his son stayed with him, and his daughter went to stay with her mother's folks. And she had already died. His wife had already died. And so the boy stayed with him, and he would call a taxi and go to the hospital when he felt bad. And then he'd come home, and the boy would stay with him. And then he got sick and died.
Wow. How sad for the kids.
And so I guess his son went to live with his sister. I don't know what happened to him. But the older boy lived there and was known in Elk City from then on for years and years and years. The oldest boy, Raymond.
So when you were a child, you were living in Elk City? What town did you live in when you were a child?
Well, I was born in Leedy, and then when I was about 3, we moved to Elmer, which was a small town out by Altus. And Daddy had a lumberyard there. And I don't know what happened, but we moved back to Leedy and stayed until I was 7, and then we moved to Elk City. And I lived from the time I was 7 until I was 12. We lived on
Jefferson.
Trying to think of the name of the street.
Jefferson.
Jefferson. And then when I was 12, we moved up on 3rd Street.
So you know Elk City pretty well.
I knew it pretty well. I don't know about it now. Lots of it built north of, west of town that I didn't know anything about. A
Did
lot of brick homes.
And,
brick homes?
There were brick homes.
Yeah.
and doesn't 66 pass in front of the house on 3rd Street?
66 did.
Mm-hmm.
But when they changed it to 40, it moved outside of Elks, out on the edge of the town.
Uh-huh.
Now Route 66, it was probably busy then. People were, in your time,
What?
it was route, you know, and Route 66 has quite a reputation of being a big road to the West Coast.
Well, it was from New York to Los Angeles. It was all the way. 66 was. It was the first international state, you know, that went from all the states one direction.
So you had
To
all,
be built.
yeah, all sorts of traffic from
But
everywhere.
that went right through towns and all. Now they always put the main highways outside of towns.
Yeah, that was before the time of freeways and
Well,
interstates.
They were freeways in their day. 66 was a freeway in its day.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when they turned it over to 40, then it became a different kind of a street or road.
Well, when you were in Elk City, is that when the Dust Bowl came? Or were you in Leedy?
It wasn't nearly as bad. It was bad up in here, but it wasn't nearly as bad as it was out in the Panhandle.
Where's the Panhandle?
Well, you go out west of Elk City and you go north and west, and when you get up there in the corner of Colorado, which was on the southeast corner, and on the southwest corner of Kansas, and then the Panhandle of Oklahoma, and then you went into a little bit of Texas, and that's where the Dust Bowl was.
I see.
It was real bad up in the corner of Colorado. It was real bad in the corner of Kansas. It was real bad in the Panhandle of Oklahoma.
And the Panhandle is the little part of Oklahoma that sticks out.
Oh,
A
okay.
little narrow.
Panhandle is just a strip.
Is that strip? Yes. Okay. Well, when you were living as a child in elementary school, what was your school like?
Where it was a two-room school.
2 rooms.
Where you went to school, Mother.
Oh, where I went to
Oh,
school.
yeah. Where did you go to school and what was it like?
Oh, it was just like any other school. I went 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th.
All in one building.
No, I don't know.
Yes. One end of it was grade school, another middle part of it was junior high, and the other end of the school was high school.
Did you spend all of your grades there?
And it was 3 stories, I think.
Oh.
2 or 3 stories, I forgot.
And where did you graduate? You said in 1931?
Yes,
From Elk
City.
City. When did you meet your husband?
I met him out when I was going to school at Panhandle.
Goodwill.
And you mean college? And you were going to school in education?
Uh-huh.
And he was too. And then,
He had gone to school down at Lawton for the first 2 years at Cameron. And after he left, Cameron became a 4-year school. But when he went, it was only a 2-year school in Lawton.
so he was 2 years ahead of you?
No, he was in the same grade as me.
Oh, okay.
But Mother went to OU, her first.
Oh, okay.
My first 2 years I went to OU.
And Oklahoma University's in the Panhandle?
No, that was
That's-
called A&M,
Oh,
but it's not that.
Oklahoma A&M.
It is
No.
Stillwater.
oh, okay. Okay. Well, when you were growing up as a child, who visited you? Did family visit? You and Flora and Arthur?
Well, my grandmother lived with us every once in a while.
Which grandmother?
Well, I only had one. The other one died before Dad ever married. Both of his parents died before he came to Oklahoma.
Oh,
So what was your grandmother's name that lived with you part of the time, that stayed with you?
Addie Keene.
okay. And why did she come stay with you? Just to visit?
She just liked to.
Like to visit? Did she come with her husband, James?
No, we stayed at home.
Okay. And did she just came to visit, and Flora, Flora, she liked to be called Flora?
Well, Daddy called her Betty.
Oh, okay.
She didn't like the name Flora very well.
Oh, okay. It seems like Flora really always had visitors.
What?
It seems like Flora always was a good hostess. She always had visitors.
Well, her family always came to, when we'd have a get-together, we always came to our house.
Oh, like for holidays?
Uh-huh.
And so,
Now, when we got together, we did it more in the summertime than we did holidays
oh, okay.
because they all were teachers, and they didn't teach us. Like Uncle Cliff and Aunt Mildred would come from Michigan, and then Uncle Paul and Aunt Irene could come from OU and their children, and Uncle Cliff and Aunt Mildred and their children, and then Uncle Will and Aunt Leela from Clinton and their son.
Okay. And
And then Aunt Thelma.
Aunt Thelma?
But she never did come much after she was married. Because she waited a long time to get married.
Mm-hmm. Why did she
And
wait?
she didn't live close enough.
Oh, where did she live?
They lived in San Antonio.
Oh, okay. So tell me about the personality of James Keene as well as Victoria,
And,
Addie Keene.
Well, he stuttered.
He stuttered, okay.
But he must have, I don't know, as a child growing up, I didn't understand when he was running for offices. But he must have had a good personality to get elected every time.
Mm-hmm.
Got elected out in close to Cheyenne. And then, he got elected then over to Clinton. So he must have had a lot of personality, even though he stuttered.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to see if that was really true. It's interesting how there were various disabilities in that family. Of his parents had William and Patrick had some sort of disabilities, and then
Who? Oh,
Pat, yeah, Uncle Pat, Uncle Mike, and then James stuttered. I don't know about the others. Some of them, Mary Ann, she just had a hand injury from a childhood incident.
who did?
Mary Keene, who married Douglas.
Yeah, she lost an arm.
Yeah.
Well, I think she lost it in some kind of a farm deal.
Yeah, it was a sorghum.
She got it cut
Press.
off just below her elbow,
Yeah,
right about there.
yeah.
I remember her real well.
Yeah. And but you don't remember her mother, Nancy, because she is buried in Weatherford. Nancy Napier Keene. That would be James's parents. Enoch died early.
I don't know her.
Yeah. Yeah, she was in Napier from
Well,
Missouri.
And didn't you say your granddad chewed tobacco and would spit when y'all would travel? It'd blow back in on the back.
Oh,
Oh, one time Aunt Thelma and Aunt Nona and her two children and my grandma and grandpa, and it was a touring car. And you know, they had where they could put up window blinds in case it rained, but otherwise they didn't. And my granddad would shoot it back, and he'd come back on Aunt Nona and Aunt Thelma. And I think they had Paul in the middle in the back seat, and then Florence, she had to lie down all the time. She couldn't sit down on account of the way her cast was made. Remember I told you it was made from under her armpits down to her legs?
must have been so uncomfortable.
I guess it was, but she never complained.
Oh,
She was a little girl and she didn't know any better.
yeah. Yeah, and that was Nona's daughter. And was her brother Paul Keene there? I mean, Paul
Her name was
Duffy?
His name was Paul.
Yeah,
He's Paul Keene Duffy.
yeah. He was there too.
Yeah, as a little tiny boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That went up. Let's see. I guess they went down to El Paso to see Aunt Frida
Oh, okay.
when she was in the nursing home down there.
Oh. Yes, I'll have to get those poems. She wrote a lot about being in the nursing home before she died. When she was, I think she died on her birthday.
She did.
Yeah. At, I think 31.
She was 31 years old.
Yes,
I knew she was very young.
yes.
I went to her funeral, but I didn't. I was little and didn't notice that much.
Yeah. Well, I guess it was very traumatic for my mother. She would never go to a funeral again. So, and you also remember spending time with Isaac Newton Parker, which is Addie's father.
Who?
Isaac,
No, I
the
never-
wife of him,
know him.
his second wife, Emma, Grandma M.
Oh, yes, I knew
Yeah.
Grandma M.
And did they come visit you too?
Oh, Grandma M did. She didn't have a husband any time I knew her.
Yeah, he died. Well, I guess she married him. He was probably 30 years older than her
Probably so.
when he married her. He had lost his first wife, who was Addie's mother. Oh, another interesting thing. I noticed in the newspapers that Will, which is James's first son, he went to law school in Lebanon, Tennessee.
Uh-huh.
And Lebanon, Tennessee is where the reunion is being held.
Oh, it is.
And that's where the center is of all the Macon County ancestors, which were the Keene and Hargis and Parker. So I wonder if he knew somebody in Lebanon, like a relative of Elizabeth Gammon,
I don't know.
and stayed with them. That's because you'd wonder why he'd go to Lebanon, Tennessee
Yeah, you
for
would
law
wonder.
school. Yeah. But he graduated from there.
I thought maybe it was because he could get it faster.
Yeah, I don't know. But that's where Elizabeth and Isaac Newton Parker met and where they grew up. So maybe there were relatives there that he could stay with, because I don't know where he would have
Might have
stayed.
been. I don't know.
Yeah, that's something I'll check into as we try to figure out who Elizabeth Jane Gammon was. We haven't figured her out yet, because she died pretty young, leaving the four 4 kids. You probably never, did you ever meet Addie and Aunt Liddy's? Because Lydia was was a sister of Addie.
Aunt Liddy, yeah, I knew Aunt Liddy real well.
Yeah, and she was really fun personality, or?
Well, I don't know, but my grandmother loved her.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there are lots of pictures of them together.
I know my grandmother thought lots of her.
Okay. Yeah, she had several children, and a lot of them died. She had to bury children, which was sad.
Mm-hmm.
They also had a sister called Molly, or Mary, who moved up to...
Oh, yeah, who lived at Cheyenne.
Oh, did she live in Cheyenne?
And she had an arm cut off.
Oh, that's a different Mary.
Oh, another Mary.
Addie had a sister called Mary or Molly Parker.
I don't know.
And she lived up in Washington.
Uh-huh.
And then Addie and Liddy had a brother called Newton
Well,
Parker.
I knew a brother. That wasn't his name.
Yeah, maybe they never came down to visit because they were too far away. Because I think they eventually
They had
settled.
another. I think it was called Bud.
Bud, yes. That's right. That was his nickname.
What?
That was his nickname, Bud. And did you ever meet him? Did he ever come down to the...
Yeah, Bud did.
Oh, okay. He married a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
And then Molly, she married a cousin, a Parker cousin. And I guess she was a pretty wild character. She would go out drinking and get into trouble and be put into jail. And then her daughter had to go take her out.
Maybe that's the reason I never did know her.
Maybe so. Maybe she wasn't.
Maybe they didn't tell me about her.
I know Connie found out about her because she's found the descendants of Molly and got pictures. And they remember getting her out of jail. She always hawked her wedding ring to pay off the bail, and then she got money to get it back somehow. So anyway, so it sounds like Addie and Lydia were not those kind of characters.
No.
They were different. Yeah. So,
Now, my grandmother did snap, but she didn't want anybody to know it. So she kind of hid it.
oh, okay.
But Aunt Liddy let anybody and everybody know she dipped.
Okay. Well, that probably made her more fun to be around because she wasn't hiding anything. Yeah, and she married a Brown.
Uh-huh.
And, yeah, so. And you said your mom died of a stroke all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
It was just very sudden and.
Kind of sudden.
Uh-huh. And then Arthur, he lived
About 15 years.
longer, yeah. So he had to bury a wife and also a grandson.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a father, a brother, oh, what was he, to Daddy, to my husband. I think my husband died before he did.
A son-in-law.
A year.
A son-in-law.
Oh, son-in-law.
Son-in-law.
Yeah, I have a few pictures of him. He doesn't seem to be real smiling.
Who?
Arthur. Was he a happy guy, though?
Oh, yes, he was very happy.
He just didn't smile for pictures. And so you worked as a teacher for quite a few years, you said.
Yeah, till I retired.
And when did you retire?
When I was 61.
Okay. Well, that was a long time because when your husband died, you were teaching full time?
Yes, when I was at Lawton, and I stayed in Lawton until I retired.
Oh, okay. And then you left Lawton. Why'd you leave Lawton? Because to be close to your daughters?
Oh, let's see, why did I leave Lawton?
Well, you stayed in Lawton, Mother, after you retired.
Yeah, I did. And Lynn taught me, I was going to move. I moved to a nursing home.
A retirement home.
Yeah, a retirement home. But that's the same thing. And they went from I spent $900 when I moved in. It went to $1,700. And I thought that had gone up too much on me. So I was going to move out. And I was going to move into Lawton. And I found me an apartment close to Walmart where I could walk. So I thought that'd be a good place for me to live. I started to move there, and Lynn suggested I move to Granite, and I did.
Okay. So you've been here a long time.
Well, that time, and then was that when I moved here 13 years ago?
Yes.
Okay.
And you're almost 100. So you must have been, let's see, 100 minus 13. 87. Yeah. So you were getting, when did you start losing your vision?
What?
When did you start losing your vision?
About a year ago.
No.
I had lost lots of vision, but I could see to get around, and I could live by myself.
Yeah.
Until about a year ago.
And now do you see light at all now, or do you see any light?
What?
Do you see light at all?
Yes, I can.
You see light?
I can see to get around.
Uh-huh.
Where I know where I am here in my house.
Yeah.
Like I can get up and feel my way to the bathroom and back easily.
Yeah.
And I can walk over to the front door and see out. But I don't see anything.
Yeah. So,
I can see a little bit.
uh-huh.
I don't see you.
Okay, I'm about 3 feet away. How did you celebrate holidays? Like, did you celebrate Easter, Thanksgiving, Christmas?
When I had a home, I always invited my children to come and have Thanksgiving and Christmas with me.
Okay.
And that was when I lived in Lawton.
Mm-hmm.
And Vicky lived in Texas. And Lynn lived over here. And where did Joan live?
She lived in Austin most of the time.
Oh yeah, she lived in Austin until after she got old. Until they moved to Dallas to be close to their daughter and grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
And then their son-in-law.
Well, did you ever think about marrying again? Because you were about late 40s when you became single? 49?
No, I never did. I guess if I'd have been by myself, I might have. But I had a man and his wife and another lady. And the other lady was about my age. And we ran around together, and I never did think about getting married.
Yeah.
I had so much fun with them.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I see the same thing with me. When I'm around my daughter and son-in-law and grandkids, I don't have a need for companionship, but if I were not living with them, I probably would.
Well, but I ran around with this man and his wife and this lady for a long time.
And Mother bought a camper and did some traveling with the group.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I bought a camper. It had a real nice bed in it up over the
She bought a pickup with a camper on it. Uh-huh.
And it had a thing out over the hood where I put a mattress where I could sleep.
Mm-hmm.
It was a real nice place to live for one person.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to Florida in it. And I went all over Oklahoma. And I went out to Texas. The first place I went was out to Texas. It was out by my mind. I can think of it, but I don't know.
Was it
why.
Paladura Canyon?
Yeah, I went to Paladura Canyon, and then having an outdoor play, and it was all made up of Texas college students, and they were giving the history of Texas. And so we all went to that. It was an outdoor amphitheater.
Hmm.
And so while we stayed in that down Paladure Canyon, we went to that. And then
What would you say were, could you say, maybe you couldn't, but what would you say were some of the best years of your life?
married to my husband was one of the best things I did. I don't know. I enjoyed my pickup while I had it. But when I moved from the 47th to 43rd, I think it was, I didn't have a place to put it. And so I sold it.
Hmm. That would maybe have been hard to do.
What?
You were attached to it? Was it hard to sell it?
No.
No. You're ready. Because it could be a burden.
And then I took several trips. I took one trip. See, first I took a trip to Bahamas,
Oh.
and I had a very poor roommate. She was a good roommate, but she was 18 years old, and I was 80 years old.
Oh.
And so she'd gone, a fella that had taught in the school where she'd graduated, thought he was going to marry her. So he took her on this trip. She roomed with me, and this man roomed with somebody else. And they didn't stay out very late. She'd come in okay, but we didn't ever room around together because when she was during the daytime, she stayed with him.
Oh, I see.
So then the next time I took a trip, I went to New Zealand, North and South New Zealand, went over to Hawaii, to the foot of it, and went up to nearly the top of it. And then we were going to, but they were having a strike, a traffic on cars and things, and so on transportation. And so we missed going to the capital of Australia. And we missed going out to a ranch in Australia that we wanted to go to. But other than that, we went to Australia. And going to Australia, we went to another island, and I enjoyed a whole lot. And when we were there, we went over to another island that was a rainforest. And that was fun to be in. It was just full of trees, then flowers that grew underneath them. And some little French children came and gave us flowers they had picked. And we went over by boat, but we had to go back by plane because the waters were rough going back. And we knew when we went, that's the way we'd do it.
Well, there are lots of strange animals in Australia.
Well, we didn't see any strange animals.
Oh.
I guess maybe they didn't take us to them.
Uh-huh. So how did you get into these trips? You just signed up for a tour?
It was just tours.
Mm-hmm.
And like the lady that I met to go on the trip to Australia, New Zealand, and to 2 islands, and to the Hawaiian Islands. We came back by the Hawaiian Islands. So it was really a big trip.
Mm-hmm.
It was really good. And I loved that lady a lot. And so then I went went to Alaska.
Mm.
And I had a good roommate. We had fun. And we flew from Anchorage on up to the tip of Hawaii
Mm.
and saw a lot more of it than a lot of the people on the tour. Only 4 of us went, and 2 of them went on up to Prudhoe Bay, I believe it was. And then we came back down. We flew back down to Anchorage, and then we went across and came down. In Canada, it was a real pretty drive, and the river came along beside it. It was a real pretty drive home. And then we came home.
Mm-hmm.
And then this lady had gone to Alaska, to Australia and New Zealand. She asked me if I'd like to go to Europe. Did I know anybody else that'd like to go? Her nephew was planning a trip. So I said, yes, I would go with her. And maybe the lady I'd go to Hawaii with would like to go. So the lady that I'd go to Hawaii went room with a friend of hers. And this lady and I roomed together, went to Europe. And we landed in Belgium. Went on up to went all the countries in Europe, and then went over to New England.
That sounds really fun.
It was good. It was fun.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have anything else to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a good way to spend it. Good memories.
Mm-hmm. Even if I can't remember.
Well, I bet it was hard for you to raise 4 kids on your own. It was difficult raising 4 kids. Well, it's hard having 4 kids, period. And then you were working. It must have been really tight schedule.
Oh, I don't know. My children was already grown before I started teaching mainly.
Yeah, that's true. So you stayed home while they were growing up? Yeah, that helps. What, did you have a religion?
What?
Did you have any sort of religion in your family?
Oh, I was a Methodist. Daddy was a Methodist. My mother was a Baptist. And my mother joined the Methodist because she thought that was right, I guess. So she stayed a Methodist until Daddy started going on. He would announce the Sunday school teacher on TV. And he quit going to church, to Sunday school, where he usually did. And so she started going to the Baptist church. And so when she died, Daddy had her funeral in the Baptist church with a Methodist
Preacher.
what?
Preacher.
Well, he wasn't really a preacher. He was the man from Oklahoma City.
A bishop.
Kind of head of the Methodist church. And he came over and preached the sermon for Daddy. And so Mother was Baptist, buried in the Baptist church by a Methodist minister.
Huh. I thought I read in Edward, your grandpa Edward's obituary, that he, in his last years, joined the Baptist church.
Well, I don't know what he did. He lived with Mother while he had a stroke, and over at Uncle Will's. And Uncle Will and Aunt Leela put him in the car and brought him over to Mother. And he was bedfast until he died.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what he did about his religion.
Yeah, I think it said it in his obituary, I believe, which I printed out. So Lynn can
Sure,
check
he
it
was
out.
buried over at Weatherford, because that's where all of them are.
Seems like Flora was a nurse.
What?
Flora was kind of like a nurse. She took care of people. If people were sick, if
No,
people
she
were
she
orphans.
took care of him.
Well, she
I
took
don't
care of
know
my
anyone else
mom.
She took care of.
Well, she took care of my mom, Flora.
No, she didn't take care of your mother.
Mary Ollie, yes.
Oh, well, that was just keeping a mother, because she was just 2 years old when we got her.
Yeah.
So she wasn't a nurse, she was her mother.
Yeah. Well, maybe she tended to have that role of taking care of people in need. Of course, she had a lot of boarders too. So, a lot of people were living in her household through her life.
Oh, yes, mother worked. And she didn't have a good life, I wouldn't say.
And why would you say that?
Well, she worked all of her life.
Mm-hmm. And so she couldn't go to school. Or what did she want to do? Did she want to do anything else? Why did she have to work so much?
I think she liked to work.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it wasn't such a bad life.
Or maybe she preferred to work.
I think she was a woman before her time.
She worked before her time. She worked for the Donchans, who were Jewish people. And then she worked for other dry goods stores there in Elk City. And then she worked for this man that she'd known at Lady, and he sold houses and things, and she was his secretary. And
Well, did she have to work because her husband didn't bring in enough money?
I think Daddy made enough. I think she just wanted, it was just her.
It was her temperament. She just liked to work.
Yes.
And maybe that made a harder life for you because your mother wasn't home.
Well, I don't know. I was okay, happy enough.
Uh-huh. Was there anything that your mom told you a lot that she repeat? There were any messages that she
No, she didn't talk to me that much.
she didn't talk to you? Was she just a busy person?
Well, she worked different places.
Yeah. And so she was just always busy, busy, busy. You didn't have time to sit down and hang out or play much. She didn't play much. Maybe that's it.
She was always good to me.
Yes. Busy. Was Arthur that way too? Was your dad that way also?
A lot. But he did things with me more. He built me a sled and took me on it
Okay, so he played with you a little more.
a little bit, but not much.
Flora didn't play very much.
No, she didn't.
Did any of her brothers or sisters play more than she did, or were they all just workhorses?
Oh, I think they all went their own ways.
Yeah. Yeah. And they probably, I don't know where they got that from, but they all tended to be a very, very big, very strong work ethic.
Work ethic. Yeah, mother worked all the time.
Yeah. Was she working when she died? Or was she
No,
retired?
She'd gotten too old.
Yeah.
See, she's 76.
Yeah. Do you have any interesting stories about raising your kids?
That's raising them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think a mother, when they've got 4 kids, are just so busy just trying to get everybody fed and clothed and to school and homework done, and it's kind of like a whirlwind.
Well, John and Lynn, I made a lot of clothes for.
Oh, you sewed?
And Nicky, I sewed. But by the time John came along, I didn't sew for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She not only sewed, but she put all kinds of ruffles on our clothes, and she spent 2 hours a day ironing.
Oh. Which we don't do anymore at
Right.
all. I don't buy something if I have to iron it.
Oh, yeah, I said lots of times ironing
Yeah,
when my girls were little.
yeah.
She had a neighbor lady that would come every day to visit,
Uh-huh.
so she would have clothes sprinkled down so she
Oh.
could iron and visit with this elderly lady that
Oh, well,
would
that's-
come.
That was nice.
And the lady watched TV. She didn't have a TV,
Oh, okay.
so she watched TV with me, and I ironed.
Did you have any hobbies? Anything that you loved to do? Any particular passions that you just couldn't spend enough time doing because you loved it so much?
No.
Reading, Mother, you've always read.
Yeah, I like to read.
Mm-hmm. Fortunately, now you can get audiobooks, but unfortunately, sometimes the Braille Institute books aren't that high quality.
I didn't read high quality.
Well, you can get books that sounds like you're at the movies.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I hear there are some very good readers for the recorded books, too. Did you pick books based on who the narrator is, or more on the topic?
I read westerns, and I like.
Uh-huh. Do you have a favorite book, or some of your favorite books?
No.
Not.
It's been
Yeah.
too many years for me to remember.
Yeah. Hundreds of books, too many to figure out. One of my favorite, because I never read until I started listening to audiobooks very much, is Les Miserables. It's about 800 pages, but I've read it 3 times.
What was it?
Les Miserables. It's by Victor Hugo. There is a movie out, or in English terms would be Les Miserables, but it's Les Miserables, a classic. That's one of my favorite. But I've been reading lots of classics as well as books that are popular. Well, Lynn, how about you? Do you have anything that you'd like to say about your mom?
Well, nothing except that she's been a wonderful mother.
Well, what else can you say? Yes. Yes. So, do you have any, let me see if I have any more questions. Oh, there's one I had. Does your family have particular political, where they tended to be Democrat or Republican or independent?
Democrat.
Democrat, yeah. I know James was. And how about what were your what did you typically cook when you were a child? What was the menu? What did Flora cook for you? Was it just cornbread and beans, or?
No, we didn't ever have any beans.
Oh, okay.
Not until I married, and my husband had grown up on beans, so we had a lot of beans then.
Oh, okay.
What Grandma Smith cooked, Mother?
Right.
What Grandma cooked?
Oh, I don't know. Cooked tomatoes.
I remember roasts for
What?
Sunday dinners. That
Roast
she
and-
always had a real good roast.
Roast and potatoes, the typical
Yes.
West diet. Well, the farm diet. So, and so you never lived on a farm?
No, I never did live on a farm.
Yeah, okay.
I did after I married.
Okay, was he a farmer, or you just lived on the farm?
No, we lived on the farm.
Okay.
Well, he did farm too. You owned the farm, and he
Well,
farmed
we
some.
owned the farm, but his brother-in-law farmed it, and he hired him to work by the day
Mm-hmm.
in the summertime.
Mm-hmm. Where you have to irrigate.
Then he worked for another man, and he liked him better because he worked him just 12 hours, and that was it, from 6 of the morning till 6 of an evening. Then he felt like going to the ball games and things.
Oh, okay. Well, tell me about your husband who unfortunately died early. What was his personality like?
Oh, he was well liked by the school people, and I enjoyed him.
Was he funny?
I don't think so.
He
Yeah.
was very friendly. He was
Friendly.
very friendly.
Uh-huh.
And he grew up very poor.
Oh,
He was.
Grew up very poor. They didn't have anything.
Oh, yes.
In fact, when he went to college, he just had one pair of pants and they got a hole in them, and he came home and was quitting school because he didn't have anything to wear back to college. And was it Uncle Lloyd that had 2 pair of pants to a suit and gave him 1 pair of the
I
pants?
think he gave him the whole suit.
Did he?
Because he was going to work, and he was going to get a job. He was going to buy him a new suit. So he gave Thad a suit, and he went back to school.
And then one time he had a pair of corduroy pants and they got a red sock in with them and they turned pink, but that's what he wore all that semester was the pink corduroy pants.
what drove him to go to school? Was anyone else in the family in school, or was he the only one of his poor
His brother
family?
never did. His brother always farmed. And his sister, Melba didn't go to college, did she?
No.
She got a job working for a state deal, though.
Yes, she
She
had,
had
a good job.
But
But why did Daddy decide he was going to college, Mother?
I don't know.
Maybe he just want.
He went down to Cameron to go. I guess somebody got him a job.
So you get a job before you get the
Well,
teaching
went to
credential?
Cameron. And then that same person got him a job down at Panhandle.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And he was on the board that was with Stillwater and Panhandle and Cameron. And so that connection got him going.
Okay.
And didn't you say that he called out there and told the president or something to give Daddy a job? And the guy said he didn't have one, and he said, I didn't ask you if you had one. I said, give him a job.
Back then at that time, you could probably teach without having a teaching credential.
Well, kids were poor back then.
Yeah.
Lots of families were poor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yes, I think lots of people started teaching real young without
Yeah.
a lot of.
Well, thank you very much. I got this recorded. I'm just going to make it on DVD so your grandkids can see it. And they may be
Well,
interested.
any good or not.
Oh, it'll be fine.